When I first started cooking and writing recipes, I soon realised that continental holidays were going to be enormously important. Simply eating out in restaurants in various countries has given me a wealth of ideas over the years. What I've always equally enjoyed is delving around all the food shops and having a look at local wines in the areas where they're produced. I think we're so lucky to be part of a continent as diverse as Europe. No other continent has such a complete change of culture from one country to another, as well as a totally different cuisine. You could live off bread and cheese in Europe and never get bored, because both the bread and the cheeses will be totally different as you cross the borders. With ingredients, there's always something new to be discovered and used for the first time. Saucissons, salamis, cured meats, different types of rice, and dried preserved wild mushrooms. I love the gnarled shape of real parmesan. I always think it looks so beautiful. And tomatoes dried in the Calabrian sun and steeped in the very best virgin olive oil. I have to confess that these luscious preserved tomatoes are making an appearance in quite a number of my recipes at the moment. Now, thanks to the age of communication, all these things have grown enormously in popularity in this country. So we're no longer forced to suffer the queues and delays at the airport to sample them. All we now need to do is select a recipe, make a shopping list, pop to the local Greek, Italian or whatever delicatessen, and prepare some lovely holiday food without travelling very far at all. So nowadays you can eat Mediterranean right here at home anytime you want to, and our first little holiday trip today is going to be to Greece, the islands and Cyprus. There you'll find lots of lemons and garlic. These are special Greek olives called kalamata. Watch out for those, they're quite special. These are cracked green olives from Cyprus, and these are little peppers that are nice and piquant, bottled in jars in vinegar. There's lots of olive oil, capers, and this wonderful cheese here, which is feta cheese, which you crumble over a lovely, crunchy, crisp salad. And what could be better to start the day with an authentic Greek breakfast, strained, thick yoghurt with runny honey pouring all over it. And the first recipe I want to show you is a recipe for fried cheese, and the cheese is halloumi cheese. This is actually a Cypriot cheese, and it comes in little vacuum packs like this. You take it out and dry it, and then before you fry it, you cut it into slices like this. And then the slices have to go into some flour that's been seasoned with salt and pepper, 2 tablespoons of flour here, and give each little slice a good coating with the seasoned flour before it's cooked. And the recipe is called fried halloumi cheese with a lime and caper vinaigrette. And I've got heating in my frying pan here 2 tablespoons of, guess what, Greek olive oil. Extra virgin Greek olive oil for special flavour. And now these little slices are going to go into the hot oil. And this will serve 2 people for a light lunch, 1 cheese, or 4 people as a first course or a starter. I've got a few more slices here. And you fry them just for 1 minute on one side, and you flip them over and fry them for another minute on the other side. Now while they're frying, on the first side I'm going to make the sauce, and I start off here with a teaspoonful, heaped teaspoon of grain mustard. That's going into the bowl. Then I've got a chopped, rather fat clove of garlic there, and that's being followed by the grated zest of a lime. Now, in Cyprus they would use lemon and not lime, but I think lime gives it a nice flavour, but you could use lemon if you wanted to, and also the juice of the lime. Then I'm going to use a tablespoon of fresh coriander leaves that have been chopped. If you can't get coriander leaves, or you don't happen to like the flavour, then you can use fresh chopped parsley, that'll be fine. And now capers, a heaped tablespoon of capers. And then I'm going to use wine vinegar, 1 tablespoon of wine vinegar, and 2 tablespoons of olive oil, Greek olive oil. You can see the sauce is beginning to look quite pretty now with all those colours blended together. It's going to need some salt, so I'll just sprinkle in a bit of rock salt there and some freshly milled pepper. Just give it a little mix, and we'll just go over now and see how the cheese is doing. It's got to be nice and toasted and crusty, and as soon as that happens you can turn it over and cook it on the other side. Have a look. Yes, that's perfect. That's exactly how it's supposed to look. Turn all the pieces over, cook them for 1 minute on the other side, and then simply drain them on kitchen paper and pour the sauce over.
And now we're in Italy with an Italian al fresco lunch. This is homemade focaccia, flat bread made with olive oil and rock salt, and with a topping of red onion, sage and olives. Now this is something that requires no cooking, a selection of salamis, parma ham, served with olives, pickled artichoke hearts, and the wonderful preserved tomatoes. I love Italian cheeses, and one of the most famous mozzarella bufala is excellent marinated and served with slices of avocado. Just right for a cool lunch on a hot day.
Well, one of the things the Italians really excel at is roasting peppers, and I'm going to show you the most fabulous roasted pepper dish. This comes from the Piedmont area of Italy, and you need 1 pepper per person for a first course. It has to be a red pepper, only a red one, because the red ones have the right flavour for this dish. And you cut it in half, leaving the stalk intact. Don't take the stalk away, because this helps to keep the pepper in shape while it's roasting. Take the seeds out, and any sort of little pitty bits. Sometimes a few seeds lurk inside, so be careful. You do need to get them all out. And then place them in a shallow roasting dish, or a roasting tin, a very shallow roasting tin. It has to be shallow so that the roasting can proceed properly. If it's too deep, you don't get the edges nice and toasted. Right, so it's 1 pepper per person, and I've got the rest here ready cleaned, and they go into the roasting dish, like that. And then they're going to have another ingredient, and that is 4 medium tomatoes. Now, the tomatoes have been skinned, and I'm just going to cut them in half, like that, and then put 2 quarters into each pepper. Now, the way to skin a tomato is to put the tomatoes in a bowl, pour boiling water over them, and leave them in for 1 minute exactly, and then you'll find that the skins will slip off very, very easily. Now, this recipe has quite a colourful history. It was brought from Piedmont by Elizabeth David, published in her marvellous book, Italian Food. And then an Italian chef cooking in Wales, of all places, the famous Walnut Tree Inn near Abergavenny, he served this on his menu there at the Walnut Tree Inn, and it was eaten by a London chef called Simon Hopkinson, who then served it on his menu at Bibendum, the famous Bibendum restaurant, where yours truly ate it, and fell totally in love with it. I can't believe that something actually so simple can taste so wonderful. It's so easy, there's nothing difficult about it, and yet it really does taste wonderful. Now, the next ingredient is garlic, and just slice the garlic, whole garlic cloves too, into little slices like this, and then put the little slices in the peppers. This is a lovely sort of robust peasant dish which needs quite a bit of garlic in it. Now, the other thing I have to tell you about this recipe, garlic goes in next, just distributed between them, like that, and then anchovies, and I've got 8 anchovies here. That's 1 per pepper half. I'm just going to snip them up with the scissors and add those. One of the things I want to tell you about this recipe is that what it proved to me when I first ate it, I thought, I've never tasted peppers so good as these. And the one thing that proved to me, after I was given the recipe and I came home and made it, was that you don't actually need to skin peppers. All that terrible performance, putting them under the grill, getting them scorched and blackened, then putting them into a polythene bag and letting the steam soak them for a while before you get the skins off. It's such a performance and such a bother. And I don't think the peppers actually taste as good as when they've had the skins left on. You'll find in this recipe they'll be nice and charred and taste every bit as good, if not better. Now, I'm going to add some olive oil. This is a nice fruity Italian olive oil, and we're going to have 1 dessert spoon in each pepper. And you can see that this is a good olive oil. You can see the beautiful colour of it here. And what happens is while the peppers are roasting, the olive oil blends with the tomato juices and the garlic and anchovy and pepper juices. And then you get a lovely sort of juicy sauce at the end, which you need plenty of bread to mop up when you serve it. Right, now just a little bit of freshly milled pepper. No salt, because there's salt in the anchovies. And all that happens to this now is it goes into a preheated oven, a medium oven, gas mark 4 or the equivalents, and they'll take about 50 minutes to an hour to become toasted round the edges and lovely and soft. Well, Italy really wouldn't be Italy without some pasta, and now I want to show you a recipe called spaghetti puttanesca. Now, puttanesca, translated in Italian, means lady of the night. That's why here in this house we call it tart spaghetti, presumably because the flavours are hot, strong and gutsy.
Begin by heating 1 chopped fresh chilli and 2 cloves of garlic in olive oil and sprinkle in a dessert spoon of chopped basil leaves. Add 6 ounces of chopped black pitted olives. After that, add the contents of a small tin of anchovies snipped into small pieces, and then a tablespoon of drained capers. Now pour boiling water over a pound of ripe red tomatoes, and after 1 minute, drain them, slip off the skins, which will come away very easily, and then chop the tomatoes into small pieces. Then add the tomatoes to the saucepan, along with a tablespoon of tomato puree. Season with pepper, but not salt, stir well, and then leave it all to simmer for about 40 minutes, or until it has reduced down to a really thick sauce. While that's happening, boil 8 ounces of spaghetti, or other pasta, in salted water for exactly 8 minutes, no more. Then drain and return it to the saucepan. Stir in the puttanesca sauce until the pasta is well coated, and serve with lots of freshly grated parmesan. This will be enough for 2.
Now I want to show you a classic Italian recipe called salt in bocca. And that exotic name, translated in Italian, means jump in the mouth, but nobody knows why it was called jump in the mouth. So I'm hoping some Italian native might be able to write and tell me. Now, to make saltimbocca, you need to take fillet of pork, sometimes called tenderloin, and you need 3 pieces about ½ an inch thick per person. So you cut the piece off like that, and then the next thing you have to do is flatten it. And to do that, you use your fist, your clenched fist, and bash it about. Now, it's not the time to get rid of your aggression, so don't go too hard, because otherwise you'll break the meat. Just very sort of medium kind of pressure taps like this, and be patient, and eventually it'll sort of spread out. Now, the reason we're doing this is because the original Italian recipe is made with veal escallops. But because veal is such an emotive subject in this country, I'm going to use pork, which actually has a better flavour than veal, I have to say. Now, when you've got it spread out like that, the next thing you do is you put on top of it a piece of Parma ham. Now, this can be bought in packets like this in very thin slices from the supermarket, or you can actually get it from Italian delicatessens, and they'll slice it and put it through between little pieces of paper to keep it separate. Now, fold it over to make it roughly fit the piece of pork like that. Press it down onto the pork, and then the next ingredient is actually a whole sage leaf. The sage leaf goes on top like that, and then you take a cocktail stick like this and break it in half, and you fix the sage leaf to the slice of Parma ham and pork, and then that's ready to be cooked. And as I said before, you need 3 pieces per person, and then you can make this well in advance if you want to, but I'm going to cook this now. And in my pan here I've got some olive oil that's been heating, 3/4 of a tablespoonful, and you need to have the pan really smoking hot like that. And then you just put the pieces of saltimbocca in, sage leaf underneath, so the sage leaf goes nice and crisp. And then you cook them for 2 minutes exactly on each side. And after 2 minutes, flip them over on the other side and give them another 2 minutes. Now I'm going to finish that off by making a little bit of sauce with another very Italian ingredient, and that's this one here, which is Marsala. This is an Italian fortified wine, and it's very rich and luscious, lovely in cooking. Here it is in the jug here, and I've got 3 fluid ounces measured out. Now, you can have either sweet masala or dry. I'm actually using the sweet today. And if you can't get hold of masala, don't worry, you can use a medium sherry. Now, what we're going to do is just deglaze the pan with that, just very, very briefly. Pour it in. And let that just bubble and reduce down to a syrupy consistency. You need it to reduce down to about 2 tablespoons. And then, as soon as that's happened, the bubbles will die down, it'll reduce to a syrupy consistency, and then it's ready to go straight to the plate and to eat. All right, now we're in Spain, and I've got in front of me here a whole selection of typical Spanish ingredients, and I'm going to make you a typical Spanish recipe. It's called chicken basque, and I started off making chicken basque by browning some chicken joints. This is a 3.5 pound chicken. It's been jointed into 8, and you start the recipe by just browning it so that it's nice and sort of golden round the edges. So that's waiting now for the rest of the ingredients, and we'll deal with those. The first one is a very Spanish ingredient. This is chorizo sausage. And this is a sausage made with pork and with paprika. It's quite spicy. You can either get the mild version or you can get a version called chorizo picante. Either way, you need to peel off the skin, which I'm doing now. And once you've made a slit across it, it should peel off quite easily. There we are. And then you cut the chorizo into little chunks. This recipe has already been published, chicken basque, and it's become very, very popular with the people who've made it. One lady wrote to me and told me that she'd made 16 photocopies for her friends, so that's quite a good recommendation, isn't it? Now, I've got about 5 ounces of chorizo here, which is 2 sausages. Sometimes you buy it in a large one and chop it up, so 5 ounces you need. Now, that's going in to join some garlic here. I've got 2 cloves of garlic, and they've just been peeled and roughly chopped into chunks. Now the next ingredient. This is a Mediterranean ingredient that you find all the way along the Mediterranean. It's sun-dried tomatoes. And what happens is where they grow tomatoes successfully, they have a glut sometimes at the end of the summer, and they just dry them in the sunshine, and then they either keep them dried or they put them into jars of olive oil, which is what's happened to these, and they're ready to use all through the winter. You can have that taste of sunshine. But I actually like using them in the summer too, because they have this lovely concentrated tomato flavour. And for those of you who grow your own tomatoes, I've actually done a recipe, though unfortunately we can't dry them in the sun here, but we can dry them in the oven and they work quite well. Now we move back to the cooking pot. This is the large pan which I fried the chicken in, and I'm going to turn the heat right up. It has been sort of on the very low heat there, and show you the next ingredient, which is 2 large red peppers. These have been seeded, and I've chopped them in quite large chunks like this, because they don't want to lose their identity whilst they're cooking in the dish. And here I've got a very large Spanish onion. That's also been cut fairly coarsely in chunks. Now they're going to go into the frying pan and be browned and toasted a little bit. So in they go. And what you want to do with these is just move them around in the heat and cook them for about 5 minutes until they've got nice sort of brown toasted edges. Now they're nice and toasted and brown, I'm going to put in my other prepared ingredients over here. And they're just going to get tossed around a little bit, just to brown very lightly. And the next ingredient is going to be rice. And I've got here not Spanish rice, but Indian basmati rice. And the reason for that is I wanted to use brown rice, and this is the best quality. Now, this is measured to the 8 fluid ounce level in a measuring jug. You always measure rice by volume, not by weight. That's much the easiest way to do it. Just turn the rice around to get nicely coated with the juices. And then now it's going to need some liquid. And the liquid is some stock. Now, I've got half a pint of chicken stock here. This has been made with the giblets, and that's the best chicken stock to use. But if you can't get hold of giblets, I think we can have the heat down a bit now, just slightly. If you can't get hold of giblets, you can buy chicken stock now in little tubs from the supermarket. And then the other liquid is going to be some Spanish wine, and this is going to be 6 fluid ounces. So we've got 8 fluid ounces of rice and 16 fluid ounces of liquid, which is exactly double. In goes the wine. And now some more ingredients. 2 ounces of olives that have been stoned. And I've got some herbs here. These are mixed fresh chopped herbs, which I've got from the garden, but you can use dried Mediterranean herbs, whatever you can get hold of. And I've got some Spanish paprika here, just half a teaspoonful of Spanish paprika. If you can't get Spanish, Hungarian will do. And then just to enrich the liquid, a tablespoonful of tomato puree. Give that all a good stir. It's now beginning to look very, very colourful. So if the weather's dull, you can have lovely, colourful Mediterranean food to cheer you up. Now I'm going to just add a little bit of salt and pepper to season the rice and the vegetables. And last but not least, our browned chicken, which will go in and sit on top of all the rest of the ingredients. And now you can see why this is such a popular recipe. Because everything is cooked in the same pot. You don't have to dash backwards and forwards and put the rice on or put the vegetables on. You've got the rice and the vegetables and the chicken, everything all cooked in one pot. So you can sit and enjoy your guests' company and not have to worry. And the last ingredient is half an orange, and the orange has been cut into chunky pieces and the skin's been left on because the skin imparts a lovely flavour to the dish. Now, if you've got a really gentle simmer, you can cook that on top of the stove for about an hour. Put a lid on, it'll take about an hour, and you need to test the rice granules. If they're nice and soft, then the whole thing is ready. Or you can transfer it to a preheated oven, gas mark 4 or the equivalents, and it'll take still about an hour. Either way, you need to put a lid on.
This is a very special recipe using those lovely large sweet Spanish onions, which you first slice into 4 pieces, leaving the skins on. Then you place them on a foil-lined grill tray, brush them generously with olive oil and add some seasoning. Now you place the tray under a grill about 4 inches from the heat. And when they're dark brown at the edges, turn them over onto the other side, season, oil again, and carry on grilling. Then remove any burnt bits from the cooked onions and arrange a layer on a serving dish. Pour on a little lemon juice now, and then a little bit more olive oil, a few shredded rocket leaves, some more seasoning of salt and pepper, and then a few shavings of Reggiano Parmesan cheese. Repeat the layering process, ending with a sprinkling more of Parmesan cheese, and you've got grilled Spanish onion salad.
Well, that's it. I hope you enjoyed our little holiday at home, and I hope you'll come back next time when we've got lots of new and different ideas for dining al fresco. See you then.